Hey, folks, we're back and we're continuing this conversation about politics and, well, also adding a little criminal element to it as well. So, the DOJ has charged 324 individuals with a $14.6 billion healthcare fraud scam. It's been going on for a while and involved all kinds of folks from nurses to doctors to, full blown criminals. And John, I got to tell you, here's the thing that drives me crazy about this. We at the same time are talking about this big, beautiful bill that is cutting out billions of dollars of aid for Medicaid and Medicare for the poorest. And yet we have $14.6 billion going out the back door somewhere. And I'm sure there's more of this. And I don't really mean to see and sound like, I'm anti government, but this is crazy. I mean, for all the Doge investment and for all the stuff that we've been doing, can we just figure out how to maybe contain the fraud so that we have enough money to support the people we need to support?
Yeah. I'm afraid that we're going to probably see more of this because, as we all know, when a new technology comes along or something that is existing is amplified, like the internet under AI, we're going to see a lot of bad guys take advantage of the system. And here they definitely did. There was this absolutely complex fraudulent schemes where these foreign operators, I think nearly 30 people in Estonia and Pakistan were part of this. This transnational criminal organizations were accused of buying medical supply companies to which they filed false claims. One of the things that jumped out of me, and it kind of refers to our first segment, was that executives with marketing companies in Pakistan had allegedly used deepfake technology to create these fake recordings of Medicare patients who apparently were agreeing to receive certain healthcare products and then filing false claims. So there's a use, again, of AI. At the same time, our government doesn't want us to do anything about that for now. Again, as you said, Mike, criminals, the bad guys, really do take advantage of technology because they, in a sense, are like the pioneers in its use in many ways. And then we can try to counteract what they do. And the great irony, as you said, is Doge was all about efficiency, government, getting rid of waste. Yet here we're seeing this incredible amount of waste that of all things involves Medicare at a time when we're talking about cutting those benefits for folks as part of a big, beautiful bill. So it's all kind of a crazy world, but it's not entirely surprising. And my fear is that healthcare, which I think has the most potential in terms of AI use, will also be a target. So it's going to greatly benefit us down the road in terms of how we look at healthcare through AI. But we're also going to probably encounter more schemes and scams and potential dangers to our not just our health, but our pocketbook.
Yeah. I'll jump in if it's okay.
By all means, I have more to say, but go ahead.
How many people out of these 324 are going to serve in Congress or the Senate one day? Because we've got our fair share serving right now who have been implicated, or their companies have been implicated, convicted, and had to pay for Medicare fraud. Medicare fraud seems to be rampant. This is the latest. It is a big one, $14.5 billion. But, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. But, for all the noise about Doge and everything and all these, big cost cutters, it seems like, some work needs to be done in that system. We got to design a better mousetrap.
Yeah, and that comes back to my next point, which I know we have this notion in the land of cybersecurity that we don't blame the victim. But you know what? I think in this case, there's some folks who work for these agencies that need to get fired. It's clearly somebody's asleep at the wheel. And at this tune of 14 billion plus God knows how much else is going out there, it's broken. So we need to kind of really have a conversation, regardless of whether you're a Democrat or Republican. This system is fundamentally broken, needs to be rebuilt from the ground up. And maybe we need a commission to go do that. That's bipartisan, and this is all they do.
We don't do bipartisan commissions anymore. That's an issue.
I think occasionally we can come up with an issue that maybe we can all agree on, that this is just insane.
Well, the problem is you're going to get one group that says the whole thing's broken, scrap it. You're going to get another group that says, well, we can't scrap it because it's mission critical. People's lives depend on it. And there's got to be a middle ground where, no, you're not going to scrap it, but you're going to make it better. This is the kind of thing, and I'm a child of my times, right? I get this. But this is exactly the kind of thing where Bill Clinton would take Al Gore, and Al Gore would lead that bipartisan commission, and they'd come up, maybe it'd take 18 months, and it wouldn't be on the headlines every day, but they'd come up with a plan for Medicare 2. Or whatever you want to call it, that would do things like this, right? We don't have those. Lyndon Johnson was given a charter to build a space program, and we wound up in the moon in 8 years, not because it's easy, but because it's hard, right? Clinton gave Gore to reinvent government, and for the first time and the only time in my lifetime, we actually ran budget surpluses. When was the last time we did anything like that? That's what's needed here.
And it's hurting folks in these red states more than it does the blue states, where it's pretty clear that a lot of those folks are more dependent upon these services.
This isn't a red or blue issue. The fact that it's wrought with, potential for fraud is, I don't think anyone argues. I think that the question is that a reason not to do it altogether? Or what do you do to fix it? What do you do to fix it? I mean, let's face it, we're the last industrialized country that doesn't have socialized medicine anyway. And all these other countries figure out a way to do it. And in spite of what the media may tell you, they do it well. They do it well. We can't figure it out, and we get this craziness.
I mean, people complain about those services in Europe all the time, but last time
they complain about our services too. But at the end of the day, the standard of healthcare in Europe and Canada and other places where they have socialized medicine is pretty damn good. The last time I was in Singapore, I cracked a tooth and I had to get a root canal. Some of the best dental care, best equipment I ever had. I think it cost me, I don't know, $65. Probably cost me $1,000 or more here, right?
That's with insurance, right?
With insurance, exactly. That's with my insurance. So, this nonsense that people complain, everybody complains. That's the nature of that beast. But I'm telling you that there's got to be a better way.
I think it's on like the whole climate too. Is like we used to have a lot of bipartisan bills, like you mentioned Clinton and LBJ and all the legislation, especially with LBJ, that was accomplished. And now there's so much divisiveness. Going back to Clinton's administration and LBJ, you're talking about pragmatic, very smart people who knew how to get things done versus rank amateurs who are not especially bright, which is the climate we're in now. Or have been in now for, it will be 8 out of...
Look, I don't want to just pick out Democratic administrations. Ronald Reagan got things done. Reagan, I didn't agree with a lot of his positions, but he got things done bipartisan. Poppy Bush did, right?
Well, Reagan was successful because Tip O'Neill was willing to have the conversation.
Well, it takes two to tango. Certainly, it takes two. And look, I see what goes on in New York. I'm not going to get all political, but you see what goes on in New York City with this mayoral campaign and stuff. And, can you blame people? Who should I vote for here? The guy who left the governor's mansion in disgrace? Or this other guy who's a Democrat socialist, maybe anti-Semitic to boot, who, you're not giving them a choice. All right, let me vote for the criminal who's in there now anyway, right? That's not a choice for people. This isn't just a Republican issue. The blue states and the Democrats are just as guilty for failing to give people a viable choice.
That's an issue for both parties. I mean, they can't work together. I mean, it's not, you don't blame one side of it. You blame both sides.
And is it any wonder that no one wants these jobs?
Right.
Let Garima jump in here.
Right. So let's steer this away from political to technological mess, right? So I think from a technology standpoint, I spot two big problems in this. One is the scale, and the other one is sophistication. So we have to tackle both of them, right? And when you look at like all these compliance checklists, HIPAAs of the world and high techs of the world, I think this is a wake up call for them. Try to kind of also bring some money on the table, try to kind of introduce new sophisticated audits, checklist assessments, because the fraud at this scale, if it happened, I mean, technology can be a lever to put the positive side of all this, right? So how do you control the supply chain, for example? What security controls you have in that? Identity access management if somebody is using deepfakes, right? So all this can also bring some kind of positive, revolution or evolution for healthcare in the technology side. And I strongly advocate that somebody needs to look at the audit assessment and the HIPAAs of the world to see how we can improve this in the best of, the technology.
I agree with you, Garima. This isn't, at the end of the day, a technology issue. This particular, Medicare. There's no reason, and maybe that's what a panel would need to do. Design a better system.
Do not let a good crisis go to waste. Come on.
All right, let's take a break. Let's get off the politics, I promise you. We're back next. We're giddy up, get ups. It's something safe. You're watching Tech Strong Gang.